One, two, three.
Hello everyone and welcome to BeBetterGamer Wrestling. I am BeBetterGamer. This channel is dedicated to wrestling video games fueled by my love, passion, and obsession for them. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I am playing WWF No Mercy from the N64, part of my favorite series of wrestling video games developed by CAW. And I am bringing you another CAW video, Create a Wrestler video, and it is none other than Daniel Bryan. Yes, Daniel Bryan needs no introduction. I mean, if you don't know who Daniel Bryan is by this point, then you probably haven't been watching wrestling in the past, I would say 10, 15 years. But Daniel Bryan is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And I've actually modeled his look about the time and point of Daniel Bryan's career that I was most familiar with him, which is about the 2006-2011 era, maybe even a little bit earlier than that. Profile, moves, fighting style, parameter, ally, enemy, all that stuff will be found in the description below in a template, all typed out. But I'm going to go over the appearance first of what I decided to use for making my Daniel Bryan CAW. So first up, body is skinny 2, and I kept it on the default skin tone, so you don't have to change that. And then we went with head male 1. Head male 1 for Daniel Bryan. Face, we went with male 25. Male 25. I mean, there weren't any other faces that I thought would work well, but if you have a suggestion for another face, let me know. I went with male 25. Hair short 1. You can also do the shaved head look. There's not much of a difference between the hair and front hair combination that I used, front hair 26. And the shave look, I mean, there's a little bit of like the sort of receding hairline that happens in the front, but it's not too major. Either one works well, I think. Facial hair 06. Didn't give him the full beard. This is not the full beard DB look. That's more of a recent kind of Daniel Bryan look. Ring attire original 2. Go with dark red because regular red just looks too bright. So I think dark red works very well. Wristband 1. Just white, plain white. That's usually, you see that in a lot of wrestlers' looks. Knee pad, I went with the X-Pac knee pads because they have a little bit more definition. They look a little bit more rough around the front. So I went with the X-Pac knee pads. And then feet, I went with padded 8 for his kick pads. And then dark red for the first color and white for the second color. And that's the first Daniel Bryan CAW. But that's like when he kind of went to WWE in the beginning. This is the Daniel Bryan CAW that I really wanted to, you know, put out there. It's a very basic. It's short tights, dark red, knee pads, same thing, X-Pac, dark red, and then feet, the kick pads, padded 1, dark red. This is his best in the world look. This is his Ring of Honor World Champion look. This is the Daniel Bryan that I always see when I think of Daniel Bryan. I know a lot of people have the, you know, big beard and the long haired sort of look embedded into their brains, but I still remember Ring of Honor Daniel Bryan. Knee pads, this is just a variation of the first look, the white and red. Again, a look that you see more in WWE. Now he's wearing the Seahawk colors, but that's the white and red variation. And then here, same thing, American Dragon look. Short tights, everything is white. It's basically the same thing as the second outfit, but now everything is white, and you can keep it generic white. I mean, I like the generic white look. Some people actually prefer the dark white look and the colors when you change the color tones, but I like the regular white look. But you can do either or. Hair shaved here, as you can see. I did it just sort of to show the difference. There's not too much of a difference in the hair, but if you want to prefer to go the shaved head look, because he did have a shaved head throughout his career in Ring of Honor, in WWE, early WWE, it's usually the shaved hair look I think is associated with Daniel Bryan being a heel, even when he was Bryan Danielson in Ring of Honor. But that's it. That's my Daniel Bryan look. Again, early days Daniel Bryan. I thought about making a more current version of Daniel Bryan. You can do the Bruiser Brody sort of boots in this game that he kind of wears. But you know, the long hair and the long beard, I couldn't really get a look that I thought worked for him. And I figured, you know, 2K19 is out. They got that whole Daniel Bryan story mode going. So everyone's probably going to be all over Daniel Bryan's WWE career. And I figured, you know, No Mercy is an older game. a couple of years after this game came out, that's when I started hearing about Bryan Danielson. So I figured I'd make him more closer to how he looked in the beginning of his career, when he was traveling the world, becoming the best of the world, when he was Ring of Honor World Champion, when he was first coming into WWE. So this is early days Daniel Bryan. But again, this is not the perfect way to make Daniel Bryan. This is not the best way to make Daniel Bryan. This is just how I made him. So if you have anything you want to share in the comments below, please let me know about how you made Daniel Bryan. If you did go with a more modern look, if you've been giving him the new Seahawks colors he's been wearing. But like I said in the beginning, Daniel Bryan kind of needs no introduction, especially with his WWE accomplishments. Former World Heavyweight Champion, WWE Champion, Intercontinental Champion, Tag Champion, United States Champion, Money in the Bank winner. You know, everyone knows about the Yes Move It and the Yes Chance and his big win at WrestleMania, and also his, you know, seemingly retirement with head injuries and then recent return. So an incredible story in WWE, but you know, again, I modeled this Daniel Bryan sort of about the early days Daniel Bryan with his look from like the 2006-2011 era Daniel Bryan. That was sort of the inspiration for this call. You know, Bryan Danielson, American Dragon. I gave him a few substitutions for some of his moves. You can't do the cattle mutilation here. There's no cattle mutilation in No Mercy. So I gave him the butterfly lock as his front special. And the crossface, the crippler crossface, obviously is the best substitute for the label lock. But pretty much everything else is here. I have his suicide dive, his dragon suplex, dragon sleeper, tiger suplex, German suplex variations. Did I say suicide dive? I don't remember. Diving headbutt. A bunch of other different moves. His Northern Lights he would do. Various submission holds he would do. And you know, he just always was like this great technical wrestler. And in the early 2000s, this is sort of one of my earliest memories of Daniel Bryan. In the early 2000s, I went to a few indie shows around New York City, and that's sort of where I first discovered the American Dragon. I can't remember how many times I actually saw Daniel Bryan back in the day, but he was on my radar in like a post-ECW indie wrestling world. You know, after ECW had folded, I went to some ECW shows in the area, and then when ECW was gone, to fill the void, me and my buddy, we went to a lot of indie wrestling shows where we saw guys like Samoa Joe, CM Punk, Amazing Red, Low-Ki, and, you know, Daniel Bryan. When he would have his, like, Ring of Honor Best in the World championship run, I was already a big fan of his work. I wish my memory was a lot better, though, because I can remember, like, an indie wrestling show that I went to in New York City, but unfortunately, like, they all, I can remember indie wrestling shows that I went to in New York City, but they all like combined into each other. You know, I went to a few shows at the Elks Lounge in Queens, a venue that ECW famously ran during its time. And I remember one show I went to, there was a riot between the wrestlers and the fans. And I was sitting up in the balcony, and at first it looked like a real riot broke out, but then the guys in the ring started throwing punches with the people who jumped the guardrails, and you kind of knew something was up, the way they were hitting each other. It didn't look real, if you will. And I only ever had a vague recollection of the show, and while I was doing research, I discovered that this was actually Ring of Honor's first anniversary show, and I was there. And so was Daniel Bryan, who wrestled Samoa Joe. CM Punk was there, Colt Cabana, the Briscoes, Steve Corino, Homicide, Paul London, AJ Styles, Low-Ki, Xavier, Mikey Whipwreck. All these dudes were there for the first anniversary. My friend actually caught Paul London's shirt. Paul London threw it into the balcony when he came out, and my friend caught it. He smelt it. He said it smelled nice. But you know, I don't remember seeing much of Daniel Bryan in early shows like this. Like, I don't have like vivid memories. I just know I saw him quite a bit. And when he first appeared in WWE, I thought it was like, you know, it blew my mind that he was there. You know, when he did the whole NXT thing, like The Miz and all that stuff. And I was excited for him. You know, he was one of my favorites in the indie scene for a long time. And I never thought he would become like the huge sensation that he is now. The huge Yes sensation. And, you know, Bryan's had some notable feuds and classic matches in WWE that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. Orton, CM Punk, Cena, Triple H, Sheamus, Bray Wyatt, Miz, Cesaro, teaming with Kane. But I think his body of work in Ring of Honor is still my personal favorite, and what I associate my love of Daniel Bryan with. Like, don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed his work in WWE, and he's one of my favorite WWE wrestlers to this day, but so many of his matches in Ring of Honor left such a huge impact on me as a wrestling fan that it's hard to forget about the American Dragon. At one point, even when I thought about being a wrestler, never really acted upon it, but I was like, I'm gonna wrestle like Daniel Bryan. Like, that's how influential he was to me, and still is to this day. And it's easy to forget, before he was this big indie sensation in RH, before he was traveling the world in Japan and wrestling there in Europe and Mexico, he was actually trying to get into WWE early on, you know, appearing on Velocity and Sunday Night Heat, you know, even in matches with, like, you know, Brian Kendrick, early days, Brian Kendrick when he was known as Spanky, and even like John Cena. And I know WWE 2K19 sort of explores that in their mode, so I'd be interesting to see what they do there. But, you know, again, it was when he was primarily working for ROH in the American indie scene, that's where I would really follow him. Didn't really know he was doing that WWE stuff early on before he came into Ring of Honor. So it's just crazy to think about his journey throughout WWE. And he headlined Ring of Honor's first major event in 2002 between Loki and Christopher Daniels. He would later be known as one of, like, the founding fathers of Ring of Honor, you know, in the terms of, like, being one of the most popular wrestlers in the beginning, in the early days, to help put Ring of Honor on the map, which it's still going strong. It's still kicking. It still has a great group of wrestlers in it. And a lot of people who are in WWE now all came through Ring of Honor, much like Daniel Bryan. And, you know, since Daniel Bryan was there at the beginning, it's also kind of interesting his own journey in Ring of Honor, because he didn't capture the World Championship, the Ring of Honor World Championship, until September 17th, 2005, when he defeated James Gibson, aka Jamie Noble. His reign would be, like, you know, worth the wait, though, because he would hold the title for about 462 days, which was the second longest reign at that point, which would only be passed by Nigel McGuinness, who's currently one of the commentators for the NXT brand and NXT UK brand, and even 205 Live, I believe. And, you know, when Nigel won the championship in 2007, Bryan would lose the title to Homicide at Final Battle 2006, and he is tied with McGuinness for the most Ring of Honor championship defenses at 38. I've created a playlist down below that you can find the description of some of his major Ring of Honor battles that you can find on YouTube through Ring of Honor's official YouTube page. Battles with Nigel McGuinness, Kenta, aka Hideo Itami, Takeshi Morishima, which I think is my favorite series of matches that Daniel Bryan had in Ring of Honor, Christopher Daniels, Loki, Tyler Black, aka Seth Rollins, Roddy Strong, Samoa Joe, Homicide, Austin Aries, Marufuji, Chris Hero, who's also Cassius Ohno. Again, you're going to see a lot of names that you're familiar with now in WWE that Bryan worked with back in the day and had these amazing matches with, that really solidified him as the best in the world. I still think he's one of the best in the world. So check out that playlist below. Let me know your favorite memories of Daniel Bryan, whether they are in WWE or outside of WWE. I would love to know. I always love revisiting Daniel Bryan matches and watching his work. Again, he's still one of my favorite wrestlers, and I hope you enjoy this call. Again, you can find me. I stream throughout the week, Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/BeBetterGamer Wrestling. You can find me Monday through Thursday playing wrestling games. Every now and then I stream No Mercy, as well as the other N64 Aki games like Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. Make sure you check the description again for the full call, all typed out. And yeah, if you want to check out my other No Mercy calls, go ahead and click the little video box here in the end card, as well as my No Mercy Let's Play series, where I will be doing the championship series soon, the WWE Championship. So once again, I hope you enjoy this. My name is BeBetterGamer, and until next time, keep watching all the wrestling.